Ready to roll on the Rich Eisen Show.
Second down and 6. Pass wide open. Adams makes the catch. Makes the move. Sprinting for the end zone. Touchdown, Green Bay. And for the Green Bay Packers, on to San Francisco.
Davante Adams, 160 receiving yards, most by a Packers player in a playoff game, as called by the one and only Joe Buck, who is getting set, along with Aikman, to call his 6th Super Bowl 2 weeks after calling the NFC Championship game on Fox this coming Sunday between the Packers and the 49ers. I think I've covered it all, Joe, right? Did I cover all that?
Yeah, that's it. That's about it.
All right.
I don't know what I can add to any of that.
Well, thanks for coming on then, Joe. That's all I wanted you on for, is just
that
to
was
read
fun.
what you're next to.
That was fun. You get what you pay for.
You know, well done. Very, very well done.
I'm just trying to take care of my chicken.
Yeah. And by that you mean actual livestock, though, right, Joe? Is that what you mean?
No, I live in St. Louis. We all that's what we all have, just clucking around the backyard.
Right, just taking care of the chicken. Hey, Joe. I guess here's my way to turn it. It sure looked like the Packers took care of their chicken yesterday against the Seahawks, don't you think?
Yeah, they did. It was kind of a return to form, I think, for Aaron Rodgers on some level. I mean, I know that he would bristle at that, and I'm sure he is tired of hearing about him having a down year. In fact, when we talked to him, he was rather, I don't want to say defiant, but quick to point out that they were 13-3 and the number 2 seed, and they're overlooked and underappreciated, and they're going to sneak up on people. And then they went out and did it. And I thought Aaron Rodgers made some of the typical great Aaron Rodgers throws that he makes on third down. And that was really the story of the game. Third down won it for Green Bay. They won that little mini battle, and he made some great throws, especially the last 2 that counted. One to Davante Adams on the sideline, and one to Jimmy Graham with a questionable spot, but a first down nonetheless, and the game was over. And that's what the great ones do, and that's what he did.
Well, having spoken to so many players in all the years that you have covered the NFL with Fox, know that you will come across a bunch of first ballot Hall of Famers who will use the "nobody believes in us" mantra, and you do sit there and roll your eyes like, what are you talking about? Brady, just a couple years ago, going off to the Super Bowl saying nobody believes in us, essentially. However, I don't blame Rodgers for being pissed. The guy's 13-3, right? This team was one Jacob Hollister reception inch away from being the 1 seed throughout the entire NFC playoffs. And everybody's saying that he's kind of an old dog who can't learn any new tricks, and who's this new first-time head coach, and yet they're heading off to the NFC Championship game. I don't blame him for bristling, right? Being defiant.
No, I agree with that, and I've seen just too many times Aaron Rodgers literally take a game over. People that all Packer fans think that Troy and I hate the Packers, which is ridiculous, and we always joke about this, but I think the rest of the country gets tired of us just throwing bouquets at Aaron Rodgers, but he's just different, and he's been different since he took over in 2008. I think he does it in maybe a little different fashion now. He doesn't use his legs as much, but he uses his legs to get his body out of the pocket and be able to contort and make a throw from any angle to any part of the field. And so, I've admired him over the years, and I think he's one of the great ones, and he is definitely one of those players that uses whatever anybody says is per personal motivation. And, however it needs to get done, he usually gets it done. He's been a 2-time MVP. He's won a Super Bowl, and they're 1 win away from going back. I mean, I read a column today getting ready for the game on Sunday from the coverage of the 49ers that acts like the Packers shouldn't even show up, and Rodgers is over the hill and cooked. And I just don't see that.
Well, the 38-7 win on Sunday night with the Packers coming off of a bye week back in Week 12 is probably fuel for that fire. That's probably what's
no
coming
doubt.
from.
And there's good reason why they write it. I just think that, since that game they haven't lost Green Bay, and I just don't expect that same kind of game. They were coming off a bye. They were off from the beginning. They turned the ball over right at the start, and the game was pretty much finished before it even began. I just don't see that happening. Now, San Francisco's favored by whatever it is, 7 points for a reason. They're getting healthy finally on the offensive line, on the defense. They showed what they could do. They shut down Minnesota. They're the top seed, and they're the best team in the NFC, and they're in that driver's seat. But Green Bay will show up, and Aaron Rodgers will play a good ball game. I would be shocked if he doesn't.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I truly cannot wait for that. But you're right. The 49ers, what they did, that front four. I got D Ford coming up shortly, and Nick Bosa said after the game that he's kind of jealous that he wishes he had the ability to just on site make people afraid like D Ford does, and he came back. They're amazing up front.
Yeah, he basically missed the last 5 games with a bad hamstring, Ford, and he comes back and kind of sets the whole thing up. But I have a feeling that Nick Bosa is being a little bit modest and humble. I'm sure that there are offensive linemen that are not thrilled about facing Bosa either. So they're good up front. They're good in the middle now. They got Alexander back at linebacker. They're good in the secondary. Sherman got his third career postseason pick. And the safeties are good. So I don't know. They are the full meal deal on offense, defense. Special teams is better than it was earlier in the year. They've got a kicker that's been there and done it, and Robbie Gould. So they are going to be hard to beat.
Joe Buck here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's LaFleur like? I've never spoken to him, to be very
Incredible.
Honest. Yeah?
Honest to God, when we hang up with him or walk out of a meeting room with him, we all kind of look at each other like, man, he is not paranoid. And you would think that a first-year guy
that's a great one.
Talking to people, that are covering the game would be really secretive about what they're cooking up in the back room for that week's opponent. And he lays it all out, and he's honest, and he gives you a real opinion on the way guys are playing. I talked to him about the numbers for Aaron Rodgers being down, and he said, we have to do a better job, A, calling plays, and B, getting them more playmakers, because basically it's been 3 guys. It's been Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, and Aaron Jones, and that was pretty much the case yesterday. And we would be remiss if we didn't point out the job that Russell Wilson did, because there are times where it's just like him doing it on his own. And that's not to slight anybody else on that offense, but I just don't see anybody able to do what he does and almost single-handedly willing his team to get into a position to win. Week in and week out, all he's done is win since coming into the NFL. So I thought he played a tremendous game with a depleted offensive line. And the running back situation, they lost their top 3 running backs, and they were still in that game on the road in the cold till the end. I think the guy is just a tremendous winner.
He is. I want to put a pin in Russell Wilson for a second, though, and return to LaFleur, because the relationship between Rodgers and LaFleur would be, should the Packers make the Super Bowl, a top 5 storyline for the week. We will be picking that whole storyline apart like crazy leading up to your call with Troy of that game. What have you seen? What have you personally witnessed about this, and can actually report what's real and what's not with these guys?
Yeah, for as honest as Matt LaFleur has been with us this year, Aaron has always been brutally honest over the years with us. I know that he respects and trusts Troy, and I think he's willing to tell us exactly how he feels. Some things we share, some things we don't over the years with the previous regime and other players that have been there. But I get the sense that he is genuinely pleased and happy with the way that has all evolved. And I think he almost heads it off, the questioning at the pass, with jumping at us when you start going down that road of, why aren't the numbers typical Aaron Rodgers numbers? I think he completed 62% of his passes and had that, down the stretch wasn't that accurate, had a rough game at Detroit, but they got the win. And that's the most important thing. And that's why he cuts it off. I think he is happy. And I think he's at a different stage in his career, and he'd rather win than pile up huge stats. And I think that's where they are. I don't think either one's holding back. at least with us, behind closed doors or on a conference call, I think they have a lot of appreciation for each other. And I think the play calling last night was fantastic with being able to get Devontae Adams, and the whole stadium knows that that's the guy that Rodgers is looking for, singled up and open really throughout the entire game, and on that big third down when it mattered the most on that final drive.
So then what's the postscript on the Seahawks for 2019? Because it is so tough to transition from championship years here and then build another one there. Same quarterback, same guy in the middle of the defense, essentially same guy in the headset, and that's about it. What's the postscript on this team trying to get to the Final Four?
Well, I just think that they've had a tough time with their offensive line, even when they were rolling. It had a lot of moving parts. They lost their center this year. They lost Ethan Posick for the majority of the year on IR. They lost their top three running backs. If they get healthy there, they still have Russell Wilson. I think it goes back to the offensive line, and it's been 2 straight years of Will Dissly, their tight end, who's a really talented player and a guy they love, ending the season on IR. And defensively, they have some holes in the secondary. They still have Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright at that middle level, and Bobby Wagner's an all-pro. So there's a lot of pieces there. They have a really smart, good GM. And the young receiver, who we haven't even talked about, DK Metcalf, who picked it all up fast and is a physical specimen and runs a 4.3. So there's a lot there to like, and a tweak here, a tweak there. I just don't think you get past looking at the offensive line. That's got to get better. The health should be back with the running backs, and I think they'll be right back. Looking to get into the Final Four a year from now.
Last one for you, Joseph. What a great moment with Jimmy Johnson getting the call from the Hall on live television, just similar to obviously Bill Cowher on CBS the day before. This one, however, is obviously personal for the guy that you stand next to for all of these games. What a great moment when they cut to Troy with tears in his eyes, watching it from the booth in Lambeau. Were you right there, or were you?
Yeah, I backed up and let the camera shoot him, because that's the relationship. I've gotten to know Jimmy over the years and love the guy to death. But
right.
But I think Terry's reaction was just as real with the way he, was cheering. I don't know that all those guys knew what was going to happen. I know the producer, Bill Richards, knew that David Baker was going to walk in there and tell Jimmy. We were alerted to it to stick around because I think they wanted, instead of us running to the bathroom or running to get something to eat or whatever, they kept Troy on headset. And I think we surmised that it would be that announcement, especially after Cowher the day before. So, it was really, there's a lot of love there, and Jimmy is beloved at Fox, but then you go back, obviously, to the early 90s Cowboys and what Jimmy's meant to Troy, what Troy meant to Jimmy. There's so much respect, and, it was good to see from both. I think all of us, if we were taking bets, would have thought that Jimmy would not cry. And if you watch that, not only did he cry, but he was literally choked up. And I just think it's a relief, and it's a pat on the back, and well-deserved. I mean, his importance to the league is felt to this day, and what he brought in and how he made the Cowboys relevant again when he was hired by Jerry Jones.
It's great stuff. You only get one call from the Hall, man, and that's just going to make it's it. That only happens once. And that was neat to see, and it was great to see Troy's natural reaction. He's good people, as you know. Joe, so are you. And I'm not just saying that because you called into my show. You know that.
Well, thanks, Rich. I'm gonna walk a little taller today.
You should. You're gonna hang with those kiddos and then head off to the Bay Area, right? That's pretty much the next few days.
That's the next few days. Get my kid time in.
How are those little boys? I see it on your Twitter, on your obviously Michelle's Instagram, and yours that's private. And I'm pleased to get past the gates there. How are those little boys, Joseph?
They're great. They're hooked on. I was gone for 3 days, 4 days, and I came back, and now they're hooked on dinosaurs. So having raised girls,
yes,
my first go around with this, my whatever 1.5, 20-month-old kids now know more about the classification of dinosaurs than I do. So I have to actually study what the hell a Stegosaurus is compared to a Brontosaurus, compared to a I know what a velociraptor is because of the movie Jurassic Park and a T-Rex. That's about where it ends for me.
Joe, my guys are laughing because I've never seen Jurassic Park. That's part of my pop culture blind spot. Yep, never seen it.
That's impossible.
It's possible because I have never seen it.
I know it's possible. It's just sad.
It's inexcusable, really.
It's not inexcusable.
It is. It's inexcusable.
I know the dinosaurs come alive. I get it. I understand.
And they move in herds.
What's the big deal?
They do move in herds.
Yeah.
I don't mean to offend, Joe. But it's
You don't want to suspend disbelief, huh? You don't want to.
No.
You don't want to get wrapped up in Newman from Seinfeld gets eaten.
That's part of it too.
Spoiler alert, Joe.
My God, Joe!
on,
Now
Joe.
I'm never going to
Jeez.
see it. Wow.
Yeah, no, that's true. I'm sorry, I blew the whole movie for you. That's the big ending. He's all sweaty and driving, and he can't see out of his windshield, and then he gets eaten, and then the movie ends.
Wow. Roll credits.
Yep.
All right, Joe. I'll see you in Miami. I will see you shortly.
Okay, you pack your shorts and your sandals and your socks, and we'll see you there.
I will do that. I will show up dressing like the Flamingo Kid. That's how I'll be.
Okay, good.
I've seen that movie.
Can't wait.
All right, take care, Joe.
Yeah.
At Buck at Buck on Twitter.
For more of the Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.